Hi, everybody. This is Max Media. We help others to grow and nurture the channel, to have dynamic people doing interesting things on here. And certainly, Dave Alden is one of them. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, it's great to be here, Paul. Always nice that you and I have a chance to chat.
Yeah, and we've got to know each other a bit over time. And this is going to be an interesting discussion. First, want to talk about a bit of your background. You are an incredible Vistage chair. You've had your own work experience at a very high level. I want you to touch on that to start with, and then what we're going to get into is what is keeping owners up at night now, today, and what are you and your groups talking about, and touching on tariffs too. So let's start with your background.
Well, let me just tie the two things together
Yeah,
because what keeps business owners and CEOs up at night is uncertainty. And what's really going on today is all about tariffs. So that's where I guess I can transition, Paul, in a bit about my background, having
yeah,
worked 10 years living and working in Asia. So I had the opportunity to work and live in Japan and in Taiwan and in Thailand. And I got to say that this issue about trade and tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers is a real challenge for businesses. And not only just if you're in the United States, it's anywhere around the world. You have to maneuver all of these uh, challenges that you got.
yeah. Because when you were working your career, Dave, you were involved in obviously looking at managing, uh, pipeline traffic, global traffic, and supply chain, all of that, correct?
Yeah, so I was with Ford Motor Company, president of Southeast Asia, and one of the
Yeah,
things that we looked at for a long time is how do we source our cars and bring them from one country to another, and how do you build a business because
yeah.
there are a lot of tariffs, and so I'm very used to being able to sort through those kind of uncertain situations, I should say.
Yep, yep. All right. Well, let's jump into the topic at hand is keeping owners up at night, tariffs. Where do we want to start with that?
Well, I think what this place to start is being a Vistage chair. I guess I would say Vistage is built for uncertain times. So when you got a problem, and isn't it great not to go it alone?
Yeah,
And so that's the first place is that as part of a peer advisory group, you got a bunch of like-minded business owners and CEOs. And in the Vistage world, they're a non-competing business. So everybody's rooting for each other.
yeah,
And so, but you'd be surprised, even though you get different businesses, different sizes, but similarities of the problems are amazing. And dealing with how you're going to price, how you're going to deal with situations, maybe you got to pivot your business a bit and take advantage of the opportunities is something that the group can help fellow business owners do.
yeah. Because you're getting together once a month as a group where everybody's in the room and processing issues. And are people really getting into the details and opening up about, stuff they need to solve?
Oh, sure, there's a myriad of problems. And so,
Yeah,
everybody that's involved in the tariff chain is going to have to price. And so we had a great lively discussion about, okay, well, how do you make it most palatable to the end user? So just taking what you see in the newspaper, a price increase and just shooting it over the computer to your customer uh, doesn't win you any customers or any favors. So how do you best message all that, put some context around it, and make it into a win for you to the best of your ability? Because what you're trying to do, obviously, in business is build trust and confidence with customers, and how you message is really, really important. It's not only what you're doing, but it's how you do it.
well, it'd be how you message to your consumers.
Yeah, yeah. Whether you're
Yeah,
business to business or business to
yeah,
consumer, right?
yeah.
Prices are going up. Well, hey, how do I know that you're passing along the real number to me and just not making some more money? Or what are you doing for me and how you making this thing work? So we had some very spirited discussions and shared some of the communications that went between the members and their customers. And there was a lot of best practices shared.
Do you find that your members and businesses in general are already in the process of shifting things around to deal with things like supply chain? Is that occurring now, or is everyone just trying to get their head around it? Where is everyone at?
Well, I think everybody's doing something consciously, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes the conscious is to do nothing and wait and see. But I'd say most that are directly impacted with tariffs are taking some kind of action. First thing is figuring out what category of tariff your products qualify for, and especially if it's some new products that were never tariff before. And so, how do you actually calculate the tariffs? So,
yeah, yeah.
a 10% tariff, does that mean 10% on the retail price, landed price, FOB price? And so, what are your risks in terms of pricing? So, there's a lot of complexity in all of this, especially as the learning ramps
Yeah,
up.
yeah, it's interesting because we all read about the big companies, Apple, making big shifts already. They're going to go build plants over here, or big companies shifting to India away from China. Do you find that the um, more closely held businesses you're working with are also enacting things already like that? Like, for
Oh,
instance, moving stuff away from China.
yeah, well, the amazing thing is that virtually all of the members that are doing some business in China or sourcing parts also are sourcing parts or buying parts from the US. So the question is, how do you ramp up this side of the business? And clearly, there's opportunities for a lot of people to do that, while other parts of your business are a little bit more stressed. So we have to see how it all ends up. But uh, that understanding those opportunities and teasing them out, it's really helpful to do it with a bunch of business owners that are doing the same exact thing and sharing their best practices.
Oh yeah, because I imagine because the industries aren't the same in your groups that having perspectives from other industries is awesome, for
Right.
somebody because it goes outside their own zone.
Yeah, especially for people that have been doing a lot of business overseas, because there's already been tariffs on China sourcing, for
Yeah.
instance. So you've had several people that are doing China sourcing already, and guess what? They got a leg up on everybody else. That if they're bringing things in from Italy, they're bringing things in from other parts of Europe or other parts of Asia, for instance, that now have higher tariffs. How do you deal with it? Well, look, you're getting a speed course in how it works.
Yeah. Question I heard because someone was making an argument about tariffs where they said, okay, if you've got a product here in the US and it's priced at X and it's priced to sell, meaning there's not a lot of wiggle room there, to price it higher because people stop buying it. So if the cost, because of the increase in tariffs, is higher for the company to bring that over here, make it whatever, they don't necessarily raise the price of the end product because it's already priced right. Uh, and so it's just the company maybe taking a hit, but not necessarily that being passed on to the consumer. Is that a legitimate argument?
It's going to be an interesting. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. So you got to look at what the margins are, and you got to look at the market. But you got to look at the market in a dynamic way, not just the market today, but what's the market going to be like in 6 months? A great example of that, for instance. So interest rates, like say on home mortgages. So
Yeah,
you go back 24, 36 months, you get a 3.5% mortgage. And then, of course, interest rates spiked, and our mortgages are 6.5, 7%. So there was a quiet time when nobody was buying a house because everybody said, the same thing. Huh, I could have got a house at 3.5%.
yeah,
But you didn't. And so now you got to get used to the new normal. And so that's part of all of this thing is the new normal. And what does that look like? And that takes a lot of intelligence, market intelligence, understanding, and sharing really helps in that journey.
yeah. Do you find that you see companies investing in automation at all? I mean, that's been a hot topic too, but related to tariffs, are those issues combined in tariff discussions? How you can automate some of these things?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little longer because
Yeah,
this is just my personal kind of view here is that if we're going to have more sourcing here in the US, there's going to be more strain on the supply of labor. And so there's going to be a bit of a challenge to get enough people to do all this work. Let's just say all this really does work, and we got a lot more onshoring. Where are we going to get all these people? So there's a lot of places you can find people. You're going to take people off the sidelines. You're going to upgrade people's pay for different positions. But reality is companies need to become more efficient too. And so that's going to be part of the solutions, AI solutions, robotic solutions, rejiggering your process for less labor, more efficiency. I mean, there's just so many things to do. And so that's really the part that is beneficial when you get together with a group of people. You just start generating ideas. There's a great line that it says, all of us are smarter than any one of us. And that's, I guess, that would certainly be the underscoring what we do at Vistage.
Yeah, and with Vistage, do you find that you have these monthly meetings? I know you're doing one-to-ones with your members. In addition to that, do you find that your members outside of those monthly meetings are networking with each other, have developed relationships, are working on their businesses away from that monthly meeting also?
Well, it goes even deeper than that. So Vistage has what's called the Tariff Resource Center. And
Uh,
so they're already posting best practices, resources, and things. But in addition, Vistage has these networks that cut across all 45,000 members. So say you're in construction, you can network with fellow people in the construction space across literally the globe in the Vistage world.
awesome,
So not
awesome.
only you got a group of 12 or 15 business owners getting together, but now you got opened up to how many would be in the construction network. Could be thousands, and you can
Yeah.
post questions and answer questions and get some dialogue going. And so there's a myriad. There's a 28 or 29 of these networks that cut across, and so you're able to network with a huge number of people to answer questions and to be helpful to others, by the way.
Yeah, I've gotten a chance to peek into that Vistage portal, education portal. It is awesome, and I see just a flurry of messaging going back and forth, people, getting meetings going and so forth, talking about issues just like this. Uh, Awesome benefit to being in Vistage. What about industries, Dave? Are there industries actually benefiting from tariffs? You know?
Sure, there's always going to be winners and losers anytime there's a lot of change. And so, yeah, if you are sourced locally and you compete with businesses that have been importing products, you're going to be a winner. And it provided that you take all the right steps.
Yeah. Well, not to get political, but uh, you know, there's the argument that okay, tariffs are not fair, they're not equal, whether you agree with it or not. So the idea is we're leveling the playing field. Now everyone has different thoughts about that, but for the owners you're working with, is the overall sentiment say where hey they agree that there hasn't been a level playing field, and although this may be painful, they understand why they're doing it, or are they just all bitching and moaning saying this is horrible?
Well, the thing we are very careful is to have discussions to stay on the business issues at hand. So we don't get involved in any of those kind of political kind of discussions. I think it's
Yeah,
really industry by industry. So I think the story that I always like to tell is coming from the auto space. What you had to deal with is that in the United States, we have healthcare paid by companies themselves. So employee works for you, you get a health care plan. But that's really not the case for almost all the other countries that are importing whatever into the US. And so they have national health care. And so then the argument is, well, they have national health care, and so they have higher corporate taxes. Probably pretty true. But they also have
yeah,
what's called a VAT tax system. So, Paul, I know you like to vacation, you go out to Europe and you do a little shopping. What happens when you go to the airport with those goods? You get your
yeah.
tax back.
You get your tax
Well,
back, yeah.
yeah, and guess what? In most of these instances, that's exactly what happens as exporters. And in the US, we don't have a VAT system, we have a sales system. So we're paying sales tax along the way for parts and services here, and then we have to export, and then we have to pay the VA tax going the other way. So
Yeah,
one way you get all the benefit, and the other way it's very costly. So
yeah,
helping playing leveling that playing field, that's probably the simplest example that I can give that I'm aware of about how stuff works. Now, not all members are in that space. And so that's probably a little larger, companies are a little bit larger with a lot more trade balance, but you get the idea about what the situation is. So I'm taking no political stance here. I'm
Yeah.
here to really facilitate discussions amongst the members.
Yep. And as far as your group is concerned, who are you have open spots now? And if so, who are you looking for?
So I really look for, I do have a spot or two that's open. And so what I really look for is three things, is people that are self-aware, they're learners, and they have something keeping them up at night. And it could not just be tariffs. My business isn't growing. I got next generation in the business. What's my end game? What's my succession plan? I mean, there's a myriad of things that keep people up at night. And
Mhm.
so as long as it's not a competitive business to what I have, uh, then those are the characteristics that we look for. And the people that are all in the group, I would characterize in three ways. They're genuine, credible, and likable, meaning they play well in the sandbox with each other.
Yeah.
So this is a safe space where people can get together and they can help each other, and they're not afraid to be vulnerable. So when you trust each other, you're not afraid to ask that question and say, hey, this is a stupid question. I don't want to ask that. No, we get that right out on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine you've got to have the right personality. You get a toxic personality in there, it could ruin the group because, of the way everyone's interacting with each other and helping.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
as I term it, we don't want anybody that's going to suck the air out of the room.
Yeah, this is great stuff. I just gotta say, you probably mentioned the vacation because of this tan. It is a real tan. It's not a fake
That's it.
tan. Let's just get that out of the way.
All right, not to be political either. Okay, Paul, I know
Yeah,
that. I got
yeah.
it.
This is great, and I want to tell everybody watching this because we are going to simulcast this everywhere: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. That Dave's information will be around this video wherever you're watching it. Highly encourage you to get connected with him. And Dave, I imagine that you're doing calls, discovery calls. If somebody wants to learn more about your group, they're in the geographic area of where are you exactly located?
Philly Metro.
Philly
So
Metro. You'll
Philly Metro. Anywhere,
Yeah, you'll
anywhere in
get
that area.
got it. You'll get on a Zoom with them and kick the tires with them.
Yeah, it's really about an issue of fit. So the first thing we do is have a little learning session. So I want to learn about your business, and you learn about how the Vistage, all the elements of the process, the things we're talking about, peer advisory, one-to-ones, and all of that good uh, background information that Vistage provides in the networks and on the computer. Have our own website. I call it the Wikipedia of kind of business that we have available. And so from there, we make a mutual decision to go to the next level, which is a selection interview, because this is by invitation only, Paul. But as I say, it's really designed to make sure that people are joining for the right reasons. They're going to get the most benefit out of that. So then we have a selection interview, and I'll ask them a series of questions that kind of teases out the things that they're working on and see if Vistage is a fit. Hey,
Yeah,
look, it's not for everybody. But if you've got some things that you're working on and the Vistage model can help you accomplish those, then we make a mutual decision.
yeah. Do they meet the members along the way in that process?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to be comfortable and feel kind of the vibe in
yeah.
in the group. And yeah, absolutely. And I welcome people to come and hear one of our amazing Vistage speaker workshops and to take part in those 3-hour workshops. Everything from pricing to health and wellness, lots of things on leadership and personal development, and all to be able to grow yourself and your business.
Love it. Love it. Dave, great stuff. Thanks for being here. Obviously, you and I will be talking again, but appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I always like to get together, have a conversation.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.